Hello and welcome to another episode of Mews R&D Podcast. Today with Senior Security Manager Roger Ribas. Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
And for those who are watching us, you may have noticed that we have updated our studio. So tell us if you like it, if we should keep the old one, or if we should do something more with it. So let's see. I hope you feel comfortable. The chairs are a little more comfortable now.
All good to go.
So security, obviously a big buzzword in not only hospitality but in engineering and all areas of our world. So you've joined 5 months ago approximately.
Mhm.
What is the task that you were kind of hired for? What are you trying to fix?
Yeah, it's a good question. So throughout 2024 and into 2025, the retail and hospitality industry has seen an increase in the number of cyber attacks and cyber incidents impacting the industry. Mews has been unfortunately one of the victims of that trend, like so many other of our industry peers. And Mews has for many, many years now had an in-house security team. But the focus of that security team has always been on making sure that we ship secure products. So we always make this distinction in security. We talk about the DevSecOps cycle. And this is just a fancy buzzword, but what it means is that security looks at a product whilst it's being developed, and then it also looks at the product once it's live. So the focus of the historical security team at Mews has been on making sure that we're shipping, that we're delivering secure products for our customers, and not so much on what happens once the product goes live. Unfortunately, the events that we saw unfolding during 2024 and 2025 made us realize as a business that we needed some security people dedicated to protecting those products in our ecosystem once the products are live and are being actively used by our customers. So that's when my team and I came in. We started in July. Obviously, the existing historical Mews security team, product security, they doubled down as incident responders and security analysts and did a fantastic job at handling those events during 24 and 25. But we realized that we needed to build that program in-house. We needed to hire dedicated people that could look after our ecosystem once all these products were live. So this is when myself and my team came into.
So how does an incident look like? How can you kind of imagine it? What happens?
It's a good question. So, it's always a matter of semantics. I always like to use a very simple definition for this thing. So, an incident is effectively an adverse event that has an impact on Mews or has a malicious intent. And obviously, that's always very difficult to quantify. But let me give you some examples of some of the things that we saw throughout 24 and 2025 as well. So a very, very common attack vector that we saw at the time was a number of threat actor groups effectively setting up what we call typo squad or homoglyph domains. Effectively, what they are is lookalike domains. And they clone our Mews login portal. So it looks identical to the untrained eye. It's effectively the same page. It's the same content. The domain, though, looks slightly different. And if you pay attention to it, you'll see variations of it. So it's not just mews.com. It's something that looks exactly that. So we saw a number of those lookalike domains being effectively spun up by these threat groups. And what we're doing at the time, one of the very, very common attack vectors that we saw is those threat groups abusing Google Ads. So the reason why they were doing that is because if someone would go and search for Mews app or Mews portal on
pops
Google
up first.
Indeed. So it would be one of the very first results on Google.
So it'd probably be like a login page to our system. So when the employees of the hotel wouldn't have it bookmarked or something, so we just type in Google.
Indeed, it's exactly that. So, they would be lured into these lookalike pages, and what these attackers would do in the background is it's a bit of a technical term, but we call this adversary in the middle. Some people may still refer to it as man-in-the-middle attacks. But effectively, what they do, they position themselves between the legitimate customer and Mews, and they effectively hijack that legitimate user session.
And fish you.
Indeed. So they will, in effect, take over that account, access, in an authorized fashion, of course, but access the Mews portal for that customer account, and then they will carry out all their actions on target.
I saw a very similar one. I don't know if you noticed, but it was on LinkedIn somewhere that Microsoft, but it actually was RN.
Yes.
Soft, and the RN looked like an M, and nobody could spot it. And it was like an email that somebody received, click here because you need to upgrade your system or something like that.
Yes, indeed. And a few years ago, there was a support release for what we call Punycode domains. So they use, let's call them unconventional characters. So when you look at slightly different alphabets, they have some characters that look very similar. So for instance, the character A can be, for instance, there's been threat actors abusing the Cyrillic alphabet because they have this character A that looks very similar to the English letter A. So these are some of the clever techniques that attackers use to lure legitimate users.
So, and you're building teams. You mentioned that you started here. You are building now the team, but I think you are like, what is the future of your teams or team?
So we are indeed building the security operations program within Mews. There's a number of key drivers for us, of course. One of the major ones is being regulatory compliance. As an organization, as we continue to grow, as we continue to develop our products and expand globally, we're coming under increased scrutiny by regulators. And there's, for instance, here in the EU, we have the NIS 2 directive coming from the EU that's now being passed into laws, and it's starting to be enforced. So these sort of things are driving part of our program.
So it's really preparing for future.
Indeed. So there's we're focusing on a number of key areas, and obviously it's really, really important for us to increase our operational resilience or our cyber resilience. We want to make sure that we can, continue to operate under duress for extended periods of time, and we want to make sure that those incidents don't have an impact on us and indeed don't have an impact on our customers. So that's one of our areas of focus. It's really important to us as well as first responders to enhance customer trust. We want security to effectively become a market differentiator for Mews. We want to be able to approach our customers and give them the confidence that their data will be protected.
But how to do this? Because I can imagine that security is that part of business where, as they say, it's a cost center, and how to explain the importance, because very often you only learn about security once it's breached or something like that. So how do you sell something that is so difficult to kind of explain?
It's a great question. And indeed, I think most people think about cybersecurity teams as cost centers or as liabilities.
Like a checkbox.
Yeah, indeed, sometimes. And I think the way I always counter that is by saying, we're not a cost center, we're a profit protector. And if we're doing our job right, you won't even notice that we're there. We always talk about some ideas like making the secure way the easy way. We don't want to hinder creativity. We don't want to slow down our engineers. So we want to be as transparent as we can for the business. But we always talk about being in the business of managing risk, right? That's what security does. We manage risk. But we also help the business lean into risk more securely, right? Everybody's talking about AI nowadays. We want to use AI.
We need to.
Indeed. The biggest risk to Mews as an organization when it comes to AI is not using AI. So we want to embrace that, but we want to do it securely. And that's our role. We want to help Mews lean into these emerging technologies in a way that they can accelerate our business, but we do it in a way that is secure for us and for our customers as well.
But how to explain, or not explain it, but how to do that when there is, vibe coding all around and all of a sudden even I, who is not engineeringly trained or trained in technology, can build an app just like that. How to go from there, you know?
And it's interesting because I'm saying a bit of and this is a thought-provoking idea, but for many, many years, security has always talked about humans being the weakest link in the chain. And we're starting to see that trend reverse a little bit because now we have Gen AI, right? When we talk about AI, we typically talk about either supervised machine learning and supervised machine learning, and nowadays, of course, generative AI. And I wonder, are humans still the weakest link in the chain, right? We always say that they are because humans can be social engineered. Humans make mistakes. But, just look at some of the Gen AI solutions out there. They can also be social engineered. Think about prompt engineering, for instance. You can lure the AI into effectively bypassing its guardrails. And it makes mistakes, right? AI models hallucinate. So it begs that question, right? Are humans still the weakest link in the chain?
I heard recently a thought by a CTO of one Czech company that people always compare AI to the ideal person. So whenever there is like a mistake in AI, they're like, it's not working for me, you know. So how to do this also in terms of the security that AI can do 99 out of 100 things right, which is great because it already did the 99 things right. But how to, because in security you cannot have this 1% of like fail.
No, indeed. And I think, when I always say the same thing, right? AI will not replace humans. Humans who use AI will replace those humans who don't. But AI makes mistakes. And when the way that we're approaching AI security at Mews, obviously there's a whole idea around guidelines and safeguards. So we're approaching it very much from a policy or procedure standpoint. So this idea of administrative controls. But at the technical level, it's important that we have technical controls as well. So when we think about using Gen AI in our solutions, we always look at things like the data set, right? What data are we using to train the model? Is that data inherently biased? We're looking at which model we're using as well. We're thinking about hallucinations, right? Which to some extent depend on the previous two concepts, the data sets and the models. And we're actively monitoring for things like prompt engineering, right? It's all about alignment when it comes to some of these Gen AI models. And there's a trove of examples of how can you prompt engineer some of these models into revealing data that they are not supposed to reveal. So from a security standpoint, within the realm of security operations, we're looking at monitoring some of those prompts, and we look for some patterns that could be indicative of users trying to, prompt engineer our models into revealing data that perhaps pertains to other customers or to other tenants, or users that have limited privileges when it comes to our product's AI features, and they want to elevate those privileges by tricking the AI model into thinking that they have higher rights in the platform. So these are the sort of things that we're actively looking at.
And how did you get yourself into security? I assume it wasn't that a small Roger, when he was 5 years old, dreamed of being a senior manager in security in hospitality companies. So how does one get to where you are right now?
It's certainly been a journey. So I studied telecommunications engineering back at university, so slightly unrelated. But I did my dissertation in computer cryptography and computer privacy as well. So that's how I started to get into cybersecurity. And a good 11, 12 years ago, I landed my first job as a cybersecurity consultant for Deloitte. And I've never looked back, to be honest. And sometimes I wonder, why am I doing this to myself, right? It's almost a self-destructive behavior because it can be stressful.
Because basically what you see in your job is day to day somebody's trying to hack you, somebody's trying to breach you, because obviously you work for the same company as I do, but I don't see that on a daily basis. So have you become paranoid? Are you thinking that they're going after you?
There's a little bit of that for sure. And we probably see risk sometimes where there is none. And I think
Isn't that the better approach? to see more risks than there is.
Indeed. And I think a lot of cybersecurity teams become notorious for becoming what we call gatekeepers, right? So I have control and I'm going to tell the development teams, no, we're not going to ship this product or we're not going to ship this feature until all these checkboxes are being met. Our approach is different. We want to enable the team. And if you speak to anyone across R&D here at Mews, all our engineers are security conscious. I don't think there's anyone out there who says, nah, security is not important, privacy is not important. And we do a lot of work to follow what we call secure by design and privacy by design and reliability by design features. Our approach is that we want to enable business and we want to give all these developers the right tools to accelerate the work that they are doing. And sometimes it's worthwhile sacrificing some of the initial velocity when you're trying to develop new products. Let's slow down at the beginning. Let's do things right from the outset. And the advantage that you have when you do that is that you drastically reduce the number of incidents. And incidents are unplanned work. There's nothing more destructive to a pipeline than unplanned work. So let's slow things down. Let's make sure that we continue shipping high quality and secure products so that we reduce the overhead that comes from all that unplanned work.
Good luck in explaining this to all the other stakeholders outside of R&D, you know.
Indeed.
Because I can imagine that there's always push on more features, but I hear what you're saying that, okay, we can deploy as many features as we can, but it comes at a risk.
Absolutely.
But how do you like enforce the that the product teams are using it? Is it your teams doing it for them, or is it you enabling the teams to actually implement it themselves?
Yeah.
Because just to explain, you are in a platform team, and then there are product teams working on those specific products that that our users use.
Yeah. No, exactly that. So we do this across different layers. I think the most visual example is to think in terms of the SDLC or the secure software development lifecycle. So here at Mews, we adopted what's called the Secure Software Development Framework, which is a framework from NIST. So NIST has a standard publication 800 to 118, which is effectively the one that describes this framework. There's an issue with this kind of administrative controls. One thing is to have it documented and to tell our engineers, yeah, here, go and have a look at this, read it, and make sure that you follow it. There's always a gap between the theory and what happens in practice. So one thing is to have that framework documented, the other thing is to live it. So obviously it's part of our role to document it in the first place, but the most important part is how can we help the engineers live that framework in a way that is as seamless to them as possible. And that's our role. And we bring in, following the engineering example, when we think in terms of our CI/CD pipeline, we embed a number of security controls with all these things: application security testing, software composition analysis, red teaming of our applications. But we always do it in a way that we don't become a blocker for them. And it's all about keeping awareness up, right? Training our engineers. We have a security champions program in-house, and we have
there are teachers, right?
Indeed, and we have great rates of adoption. Like we have so many people interested in being part of that program, and we train them and we provide them tools, and they spray that information into their team. So we create these small pockets of excellence, and it generates ripples across the company. So it's a fantastic thing to see.
Well, good luck in everything you do. And as far as I know, you're hiring, or you will be hiring as well. So watch this space. And as always, if you are on Slack, meaning you work at Mews, reach out to me or Roger. Or do you respond to people on LinkedIn?
Yes, we do.
So if you reach out to Roger, he'll respond to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you.